Joshua Cribbs turns disaster into a score!
Ugly, misformed little creature who has no purpose here, no meaning.
I am a human being.
Washed it down with 1 beer, 2 beers, 3 beers, a shot of whiskey, a margarita, and a Bloody Mary. And I said, Stone Cold, why have one when you can have them both?
Swung out and drilled! Deep right center! Away back! Gone for Tony!
Irving and Curry, one-on-one. Irving puts it up. It's good! Kyrie Irving from downtown!
Senator Hillary Rodham Clinton?
Awful.
How is she awful?
Hates freedom.
And now, Any Given Podcast with your hosts, Brendan Ward and Ethan Simpson.
Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. LeBron James with the rejection.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Any Given Podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Brendan Ward, sitting right here with my main man,
Ethan Simpson.
It's been a long week. Let's go ahead and get into it with the Indians. Triston McKenzies, one of their top pitching prospects, finally debuted on Saturday in a dominant 10 strikeout performance against the Detroit Tigers in their only win of the weekend against Detroit. What are your takeaways from that? Is he here to stay? Is it just a one-off? Is it?
It was against the Tigers. I know that they did win the series, but he came out 10 strikeouts. He looked like he's been in the league for 3 years. I mean, he wasn't even nervous. Maybe that could just be because there was no fans in the stands, but also it was broadcast on STO and Fox Sports Detroit. So, and it's also his first big league start. His first strikeout came against Miguel Cabrera, first ballot Hall of Famer. I think they said when Miguel Cabrera came into the league, he was 5.
Yeah, McKenzie was 5 years old when Miguel Cabrera came in the league.
I mean, that's just crazy. That's like one of those things, I would say that's like hitting a game-winning 3 in front of LeBron.
Yeah, wouldn't it for like one of us, right? If we just entered the NBA, it'd be like hitting something in front of LeBron. Now, we're big fans of LeBron. He wasn't necessarily a big fan of Miguel Cabrera, but to strike out somebody like that is what we're talking about. Somebody who's been there, done that, veteran, all-star, one of the best to ever do it, and to strike him out for your first career strikeout in the first inning, swinging. It wasn't just a called strikeout. Miguel tried sending that ball, and he missed. That game he pitched, like you said, it was against Detroit, but I think he pitched as good as anybody not named Shane Bieber this year.
Yeah, he had a fantastic outing. Unfortunately, Carrasco the next day did have a rough. He got pulled in the 5th, I believe.
Yeah, very early.
Yeah, so that kind of, like I said, that makes it seem like he's been in the league for years. If he can go out 10 strikeouts, perform like that, and then the next day, veteran Carlos Carrasco Cookie ends up getting pulled in the 5th. That's kind of a little hope there.
Yeah, but moving on to Cookie, because I don't really have it down here. Do you think it's a cause for concern? He's had relatively short outings in his last couple. So is it just he's not locating? Is there something going on? Do you have any idea? Or is it just 2 lineups got a hold of him kind of quickly?
I think they got a hold of him. And also I think his pitches were off. It's a tough one to say, just because we know Carlos Carrasco.
Yeah.
We all know what happened with him last season. We know how he can perform. I think, every baseball player, pitching, hitting, fielding, everybody every once in a while gets into a little slump. So I don't think it's a call for concern.
I think I would agree with you. Big week for the Indians this week. As you said, they lost over the weekend to Detroit. They invite the Minnesota Twins, who currently are in first place of the Central, to Progressive Field to start this week, already losing Monday night's matchup ahead of Tuesday and Wednesday night's matchups. Can we call them must-win games?
Absolutely.
You can't lose all 6 games to the Twins this year.
Yeah. No, you can't. And for them, it seems like their bats want to start coming when the game's over. It doesn't make sense. The bats don't get hot until, 7 through 9 innings. It's just they need to work on their bats. Now, speaking of their bats, Cesar Hernandez has looked fantastic these past 5 days. His first 2 home runs, leadoff home runs, makes me say, Kipnis who?
Kipnis who? I mean, that was the biggest thing, right, coming into this year is who just, with them having a consistent second baseman, even so far as Jose Ramirez playing second base last year, just who was going to fill into that role with Jose moving back to third with the removal of Eric Gonzalez. And Hernandez has stepped up, a veteran guy who, like you said, probably the most consistent hitter on the Indians right now.
Yeah, and he led the Phillies last year in hitting. So I'm happy. Kipnis always seems like when he was with the Tribe, he was a fan favorite just because of how long he was with the team, but he was never consistent.
Yeah, it was always hit or miss. Kipnis always had a really good season, and he was an all-star or nothing. Like, there was no in-between with him, and they need some guys that are like that. They have the stars that are going to show up when needed, like Lindor and Ramirez, and Reyes is even putting himself in that conversation, Santana. But they needed that leadoff guy in Hernandez to do what he's doing, and then they got to figure out that bottom half of the order. After 5, just what is going on? Perez can't hit a ball. Luplo can't hit a ball. Mercado can't hit a ball. Who else is there? Zimmer can't hit a ball. Naquin seems to be able to hit, but he's just not. He's a liability in the field, and that's not something they can hang their hat on.
Yeah, and so speaking of the batting order, here's a hot take. I think they should put Hernandez at batting third, slide Lindor into second, have Santana lead off, because Santana is leading the league in walks.
Yeah, for what they're consistently doing, that would make a lot of sense, right? You're going to get your leadoff guy on base most of the time, it seems. And then you've got 2 and 3. You got 2 as Lindor, your number 1 guy, the best of the best on your team. And then Hernandez, who's been pretty consistently, even if Lindor gets out, could potentially put Santana in scoring position with possibly your two. Aside from Santana, you've got Ramirez and Reyes coming up, who you trust at the plate with runners in scoring position.
My apologies. I meant keep Lindor at batting second, have Jose go down to third, or bring Franmil up to fourth.
Yeah. Well, he is their DH, so if you take and put Santana at 1, I feel like you probably could move Reyes to 4. But if you want Hernandez at 3, I think you should go Santana, Lindor, Hernandez, Reyes, Ramirez.
Yeah.
Ramirez had his best 2 seasons hitting 5th in the lineup.
Yeah, and it makes sense. I mean, don't get me wrong. Jose, he's got the power, he's got the bat, but if you adjust the lineup just a little bit and you put him in 5th, just in case something happens, they go 3 and out.
Yeah.
You start, the second inning with Reyes and then
Ramirez. You're not. And I think it does bridge that gap between the 6, 7, 8, 9 hitters.
Yeah.
Compared to what it does now, because Reyes is the guy that's swinging for the fences. He's not necessarily swinging for the safe play like Ramirez and Lindor and Hernandez and all those guys can do. Moving on. Like I said, big week. Twins up front. And to end the week, you got the St. Louis Cardinals. Trade deadline is on Monday. I would say for the Indians to be buyers at the deadline, for me, they probably need to sweep the Cardinals and finish the last 2 games of this Twin series with wins. Because hot take, like you said, if they don't, to me, by Monday next week, neither Mike Clevinger or Francisco Lindor are Cleveland Indians.
Yeah, and it's a shame. I like Clev. I dapped him up at Tribe Fest.
Yeah.
Over the winter. I love Lindor. The problem with that is who's going to fill shortstop. Are you going to move Jose to short, or are you going to put Yu Chang at short?
I think if they do become sellers, I think they'd be just fine putting Chang at short.
Yeah, but that's just going to leave a big gap. I don't think I'm ready. I'm quite ready to see Lindor go.
I'm not ready either. The problem is if they're not going to win the Central, I can see them selling, because if they can't beat the Twins, they're not going to make it very far in the playoffs. So I guess why keep that? But if they come out of this with possibly a lead over the Twins in the Central at the end of this week going into Monday, they could be buyers and maybe just sell off Clevinger for a bat and maybe some prospects. I know Boston earlier in the week did say that everybody's available.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of rumors about bringing in Jackie Bradley Jr. into the outfield. So would you give up a pitcher to bring Jackie Bradley onto the Tribe? A veteran outfielder who he's got a track record. He can hit. He's out there. I don't know. What do you think, Brendan?
Give me Jackie Bradley Jr. For Zach Plesac and Jordan Lupo.
Yeah, I think that would be a fair trade.
Yeah, give me Jackie Bradley Jr. for Zach Plesac and Jordan Lupo. Obviously, we're going to have to send an outfielder back. That's where we have our surplus, just because none of them can consistently play. But you bring in Bradley Jr., you're going to have a guy that can play the rest of the season all the way. Another one I heard on the way here is they were talking about Benintendi.
Okay.
And that's another guy where you got an outfielder that is now, maybe he's not hitting that well as of late, but you've got that tool guy in the outfield that can still play every single day for you, and you don't have to consistently wonder which guy can I put in now compared to which guy should I put in later, depending on pitching matchups and stuff like that, because it's not a good way to live. Outfield by committee is not a great way to live for the Indians, and we've obviously seen it because we can't, aside from last week's game, Saturday's game in Detroit, we got zero production. They get zero production from their 6 through 9 hitters.
Yeah, so speaking of Clevinger and Plesac, today Chris Antonetti spoke with Mike Clevinger, and he will be starting on Wednesday. Antonetti also spoke with Plesac and told Plesac, well, we don't have any room for you at the major league level. So I would say, like you were saying, Plesac and Luplo for any veteran outfielder.
There's some team out there that's desperate for a pitcher, and Plesac's going to fit right in where they go. And like we've been saying, I never thought in a million years that Mike Clevinger was the one that accepted his mistake and moved on. Here we are. Obviously, that's what happened. If Plesac's not going to get on board, hey, buddy, see you later.
Yeah, he made that big mistake going on Instagram, making that 6-minute video, blaming the media for his mistakes, when Clevinger was like, you know what? I messed up. I lied to you guys. I'm sorry. My bad.
Part of being a man and a professional baseball player is accepting your faults, knowing that you did wrong, and moving on from them. Nobody's perfect, and everyone's going to understand you made a mistake. And you obviously didn't do that. So if the Indians are ready to move on, I'm ready to move on from Plesac, because they do need to bring in a bat. No matter who it is, anybody is going to perform better than Luplo, who has 2 hits on the year, or Bo Taylor, who might not see the field again because Perez is back.
Yeah, and speaking of Plesac and Clevinger has proven himself. He's been with the team long enough, and he manned up. Plesac has not. Don't get me wrong, Plesac is a great pitcher, but he's a liability to the team after what he did. So if we can get players for Plesac, I'm all for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on to the Browns, I won't say more positive news just because there's nothing really positive coming out of Berea at this point. Sunday, it came out that the Browns had multiple false positive tests resulting from a New Jersey lab that works with numerous teams around the NFL. They weren't the only team who had false positive COVID-19 tests. However, that did force them to postpone practice on Sunday before returning to the field at 3 p.m. Those players that did receive the false positive, which included head coach Kevin Stefanski, were not able to return to practice on Sunday until they received a negative test on Monday. My only thing from this is, like, what the hell? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I'm glad it was caught 2 weeks into training camp rather than week 2 or 3 or something like that. But what is a false positive?
I don't know. I hope. Is the NFL going to continue working with that lab?
I'd imagine at that point they wouldn't, right? Come on.
How do you get 77 players and staff members and coaches around the league? How do you mess up 77 COVID-19 tests? Like, this isn't like, a false positive for a drug test. This is COVID-19. We're in a pandemic. We're in the middle of a pandemic.
This is the stuff we need to be on.
It's just ridiculous. How do you mess that up?
I mean,
I understand messing up 10, 15, but 77?
My thing is they came out with numbers where almost nearly 60,000 tests were administered over the last week. How on earth, between 4 or 5 facilities, were you the only place that bungled, completely just bungled testing?
I mean, and it wasn't just the Browns. It was the Steelers. It was the Bears. It was the Jets. Multiple other teams. I think there was 11 teams.
There were 11 different teams, so almost half of the league.
Yeah. Imagine if that would have happened, like you said, week 2, week 3 into the season.
It's a Saturday test. The Browns had 7 people out, including their head coach. Could you imagine the Browns going into a game without their head coach?
Right.
I mean, they did 16 games last year, but
I mean, they did the last 3 seasons?
Yeah.
A real head coach.
For the last 3 seasons, they haven't had one, but they finally seem to have one. I'd like for him to be there on Sundays. I don't know. There weren't the other names didn't really come out. Stefanski said in his press conference he was one of the guys, but the other names didn't come out, just to who missed practice. But I don't really care who it was. You can't have that happen from 1 to 53 on the roster. It's you can't do that.
No. I can't emphasize it enough. 77 players, staff members, and coaches had a false positive.
Yeah,
ridiculous.
It's insane. But other news in the NFL, in the Cleveland Browns training camp, a lot of injuries piling up. Safety Grant Delpit went down Monday with a ruptured Achilles tendon. That is in addition to Mack Wilson already having a near season-ending injury to his knee. Look, that back half of that defense is very depleted now. So this offense better be damn good, because it's going to be hard for this defense to stop people.
What do I always say? What wins championships?
Defense.
And where's the injury bug at?
Defense. It's very scary, and it concerns me quite a bit with less than 3 weeks to go. Little over 2, actually. Just your guy that was coming in to be your number 1 linebacker, gone. Your guy that is a rookie who is gonna be put in a hole already is out now, and what was already a glaring hole in safety is gonna be an even bigger hole, considering now they're gonna start. Who knows? They also have Kevin Johnson out for a couple weeks with an injury.
Lacerated liver.
Odell tweaked his hamstring. Myles Garrett came in with a hamstring injury. J.C. Treader had a knee procedure nobody even knew about. Just a lot of things adding up. So this offense, like I said, better be Patrick Mahomes as Kansas City Chiefs the last 2 years. Or
Jarvis Landry left practice today.
Landry left practice Tuesday. There's just a lot of things. Nick Chubb did clear concussion protocol on Sunday, was back in practice. However, that's not a good injury to have before the season even starts.
One good positive, though, coming out of that, the Browns, they have signed ex-Super Bowl MVP Malcom Smith. Also, they are showing great interest in Earl Thomas III.
I'm all in on Earl Thomas coming to Cleveland. Like, I know he was released from the Ravens due to conduct detrimental to the team. Look, he fought a dude in practice, and if there's anything I know about being in football practice, that stuff happens.
It happens on every team.
On every single team. The competitive nature of the game. Future Hall of Famer Earl Thomas is as competitive can be. Oh well, move on. Now, it does scare me because the Ravens aren't normally an organization that makes snap judgments or quick decisions like this. They do their due diligence. One of the best organizations in all of football when it comes to making smart business decisions.
Yeah, I wonder where they got it from.
I wonder where they got it from. The head of their organization did used to be Cleveland, the Cleveland Browns. So there's that. That's sad news. Let's not go into that. We're already talking about so many injuries. But yeah, with Delpit being out now, I think Earl Thomas, even if you have to overpay for him this year, is something they should do.
Sign him to a 1-year contract.
Yeah, you only need him 1 year. Sign him for a 1 year deal. He might take less money considering he's already going to get his guarantees from Baltimore. But if not, 1 year, $10 million for Earl Thomas, you move on from him when it's time to pay Baker Mayfield and Nick Chubb. I don't have a problem bringing Thomas in. However, it did come out that the Dallas Cowboys were the front runner for him when he originally got released. Then it came out that they weren't interested. And then Jerry Jones went off this morning saying that the Cowboys are very interested in bringing Earl Thomas in. But they've been very interested for 4 years now.
Yeah, that's just one of those things, probably, the coaching staff and those guys were like, oh, we're not interested. Jerry Jones is owner, president, GM. So he was like, no. I don't know who you're talking to. We're very interested. He wants to be a Cowboy. Come on down.
Well, I mean, he is from that area.
Yeah.
That's where he's from. Come on. Safety on the Cowboys defense is their biggest hole.
Yeah.
They have that line, but now that Van Der Esch is back, they have the linebacking core figured out. They signed Aldon Smith. They should get Randy Gregory back. DeMarcus Lawrence. Defensive line is good besides the Gerald McCoy injury in week 1 of practice. Other than that, safety is where they need help. Earl Thomas would feel that. Why wouldn't they be interested? Jerry Jones said that. And conduct detrimental to the team has never scared Mr. Jones.
That is very true.
Greg Hardy beat up his girlfriend and got signed the next day by the Dallas Cowboys.
I mean, how can you not tell Greg Hardy is crazy? Because he like rubs the paint, his eye black all over his face. He's just a madman. But hey, that's Jerry Jones. All he cares about is getting another ring.
Ready for a trip inside the bubble, my man?
Oh yeah, so we're going to the NBA. We're going down to Orlando.
Going down to the bubble to talk a little bit of first-round playoff series. As you know, that started last week on Monday. Things are starting to play out a little bit. We do have 2 finished series in the East as the Raptors did sweep the Nets and the Pacers did get swept by the Miami Heat. Look for the Raptors to play the winner. I'll tell you in just a second because this is not wanting to pull up for me. Why?
The Celtics.
Yeah, the Raptors are going to be playing the Celtics starting next Wednesday. And then the Heat are going to play the winner of the Magic Bucks series.
Yeah.
Which should be the Magic. Which should be the Bucks. With them having a 3-1 lead. Over in the West, things are starting to shake out there. Utah took a 3-1 lead Tuesday over Denver. Looking to end the series. They lead 3-1. Tuesday, Denver against Denver. Dallas in Game 4 tied the series 2-2 with the LA Clippers behind a 40-plus point triple-double by superstar Luka Doncic without Kristaps Porzingis in the lineup.
I'm going to go ahead and say I was wrong on my prediction last week that the Clippers were going to beat the Mavericks. I'm going to switch that right now, after watching that game. After what happened before that game between Luka and Harrell, my apologies. The racist words that were said to Luka, and then Luka accepts his apology and then comes out and hits the game winner. I mean, that's just kind of like, yeah, I'll accept your apology, but watch this. Boom. So I'm gonna switch up, and I'm gonna say the Mavs.
I mean, I called Mavs in 7 last week, just because I wanted them to beat the Clippers. But I'll say this: I'm not sure that the Clippers don't win this series. I will say that the way they're playing, they don't get out of the next one.
You talking about playoff P?
Yeah, they don't get it. They don't get it. I'm calling him pandemic P because I've seen playoff P show up in some playoff games. This dude has not shown up at all. But if they continue to play like this, they don't beat another team in the West besides Dallas.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have beat Portland.
No, not at all.
Yeah, not at all. Other news in the West, the LA Lakers have taken a 3-1 lead after a dominant performance in Game 4 over the Portland Trail Blazers, looking to close that out Wednesday night. And then the Oklahoma City Thunder playing the 3-seed Rockets did tie up that series. Nobody expected this to happen, but Chris Paul is leading the Thunder into this series against the Rockets, against his former team. Russell Westbrook has missed a few games for injury. Take that with a grain of salt with the series being tied 2-2.
Speaking of Russ, it was a little disappointing to see him and Steven Adams going at it. They played together for 7 years.
Yeah.
They were boys.
That's his boy, and it's a little weird to see.
I get it. It's playoffs, you know. And another thing is, Russ, I love you, buddy, but you're not suited up. Get off the court. Go sit back. That's what Steven Adams was saying. He said, get off the court. Go sit back down. Why are you getting on the court?
Yeah. So as we told you before, Kristaps Porzingis out with injury. He doesn't look like he's going to play in Game 5 either. Also, Damian Lillard for the Portland Trail Blazers, bubble MVP, seemingly, is not going to play in Game 5 after leaving Game 4 late in the game. After being blown out by the Lakers in Game 5, Damian Lillard will not be playing either. On to this day in sports history, my man. What do you got for me?
This day in sports history in 1996. 86, my apologies. 1986, Mark McGwire hits his first home run out of 583. Now, this was before Mark McGwire somehow bulked up, and before the arms race with Sammy Sosa, where he, like I said, randomly bulked up. Look, I'm not saying anything, but there should be an asterisk next to that 583.
You want to know the funny thing? And I'll show you it right now. And I'm gonna tell a lot of people how to steal my phone. But my uncle used to have I used to have my uncle's phone, and his password was 2525. Who wore number 25?
Mark McGwire.
And that's why he had it. But if you click on my thing, it is still 2525.
There you go.
For Mark McGwire, just because I kept it and didn't want to switch it when I got a new phone, it worked out for me. But yeah, like you said, before he miraculously bulked up, his first in a string of 583. Now that he's got that stat pulled up, my stat man seemingly is how it seems to go, because I can't seem to pull up stats while I'm producing the show on my computer. It's a big thing to note for August 25th, 1986. Biggest thing in sports history on this day. We thank you very much for tuning in. You got anything else for me, my man, Ethan?